Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications.
So Jamie Dimon is the CEO of the enormous bank, JP Chase. He's a billionaire. And he was on Capitol Hill this week to testify in front of Congresswoman Maxine Financial Services Committee. There was one exchange with California freshman Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter that shone a bright light on income inequality at the personal level. Porter talked about a single mom who was a full-time job at the branch of Dimon's bank.
Where we left off was this woman had, and I apologize, you're going to need to follow orally. She had $2,425 a month. She rents a one-bedroom apartment. She and her daughter sleep together in the same room. In Irvine, California, that average one-bedroom apartment is going to be $1,600. She spends $100 on utilities. Take away the $1,700, and she has net $725. She's like me. She drives a 2008 minivan and has gas. $400 for car expenses and gas, net $325. The Department of Agriculture says a low-cost food budget, that is ramen noodles, a low food budget is $400. That leaves her $77 in the red. She has a Cricket cell phone, the cheapest cell phone she can get for $40. She's in the red $117 a month. She has after-school childcare because the bank is open during normal business hours. That's $450 a month. That takes her down to negative $567 per month. My question for you, Mr. Dimon, is how should she manage this budget shortfall while she's working full-time at your bank?
I don't know that all your numbers are accurate. That number is generally a starter job.
She is a starting employee. She has a 6-year-old child.
Okay,
This is her first job.
And you can get those jobs at a high school, and she may have my job one day. So
she may, but Mr. Dimon, she doesn't have the ability right now to spend your $31 million.
I'm fully sympathetic.
She's short $567. What would you suggest she do?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Would you recommend that she take out a JP Chase credit card and run a deficit?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Would you recommend that she overdraft at your bank and be charged overdraft fees?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
So I know you have a lot
I'd love to call up and have a conversation about her financial affairs and see if we can be helpful.
See if you can find a way for her to live on less than the minimum that I've described.
Just be helpful.
Well, I appreciate your desire to be helpful, but what I'd like you to do is provide a way for families to make ends meet so that little kids who are 6 years old living in a one-bedroom apartment with their mother aren't going hungry at night because they're $567 short from feeding themselves, clothing them. We allowed no money for clothing. We allowed no money for school lunches. We allowed no money for field trips, no money for medical, no money for prescription drugs, nothing. And she's short $567 already. Mr. Dimon, you know how to spend $31 million a year in salary, and you can't figure out how to make up a $567 a month shortfall. This is a budget problem you cannot solve.
Well, I guess she told him, you know what would be helpful? More money. That would be helpful. Don't you think?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I mean, and it's not just JP Morgan doing this. Like that whole panel probably has some aspect of their business where they're lowballing their employees.
Absolutely.
And it's insulting because you want us to do the jobs that you know how to do, but you don't want us to. You don't pay us our worth, period. Right. And it goes beyond, like I said, it just goes beyond JP Morgan. It goes beyond, just that panel. Like employees aren't asking to become billionaires. Right. Like the Congresswoman was saying, they're asking to live. They're asking to have a quality of life that is better than their parents and set up a situation in which they can have better for their children. Mm-hmm. That's it. And the fact that he couldn't figure out on the spot how to close less than $1,000 budget, but you're making $31 million. I mean, how smart are you really?
Absolutely. I mean, it makes me think, years ago I used to work for this place called Institute for Women's Policy Research, and the woman there who was the head, the economist, used to always say, poverty is one of those problems where you actually can solve by throwing money at it. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's just be real about it now. There is no magic that you can do with those numbers, right? She needs more money. How do we get to this point where executives are making millions and the people who are really making him the money, because she's the one that's interacting with the customers, if she wasn't there, he wouldn't have a freaking bank, but she can't even live on her salary.
Well, and I looked up this ratio really quick. The average CEO pay is 271 times that of their employees. Ridiculous. And that's for an employee who are making $58,000. 271 times. And that's if you're making $52,000.
Yeah.
And the other thing that the other two impressions that I came away with watching that video, first is total rogues gallery in front of the witness table. White guy after white guy after white guy after white.
But she might have his job someday.
She might have his own.
How?
Well,
How? With what?
Well,
with what?
That's the thing.
That's the lie. That's the lie they dangle in front of people.
It really is. And there were two things. You know, the rogues gallery was number one. Number two was his sort of not contempt per se, but kind of condescension that I could help her.
Just
I could help her
flippant.
manage. I could help you manage your budget. It's okay. Come to me. I'm an expert. But it was an object lesson in how the rich feel about the poor.
Yeah.
If you are poor or if you're barely getting by, it's your fault.
Yeah.
There is something that you are doing wrong. I, Jamie Dimon, multimillionaire, can help you get on the right path to where your bills equal out every month.
What's
and not
wrong
by
is that
giving
she's
you
working
a
at
raise.
J.P. Morgan.
Well,
that's a whole other problem.
And the other thing is that when I was a teenager working at a bank, and I heard the expression that when you handle the money, the less money you make. And the more money you make for the people, the further away you are from the money, the more money you're going to make.
Yeah.
And this was clear. And you need to focus down on these issues because it is a woman problem, it is a man problem, it is a child problem that Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan is not going to see.
Absolutely. So, Teresa, you know, what really struck me is his sort of his distancing of himself from this. And like you said, his projection of whose fault it was. Well, you know, this is a starting salary. Well, you know, she probably just has a high school degree. Does that really mean that it's okay for her to work full time and not be able to make ends meet at the end of the month?
No, it's not okay. But what he did was an expression that most billionaire CEOs do in that type of position is pretty much the deflection technique. And so with deflection, they pretty much like, you know, our CFO, our analysis can handle those type of concerns and they'll get back to you. So him even asking for her telephone number to even call her and see if, you know, a consultation can be had, really, again, it just demeans the situation at hand. But I also want to definitely take a look. There was and I'm actually looking up a study. There's a report that had to do with, you know, what employers are looking for, especially in the retail. They don't expect you to be single mothers or have children. They expect you just to work and go to school. And so if that's the case, yes, that starting salary actually works. But what needs to happen is a overhaul of analysis on the total funds that are coming in and looking at what the best practices are for those who may want to have a family.
My goodness. Well, you know, the bottom line is it's very interesting how this all comes together because a lot of these same people who will be defending the J.P. Morgan and Chases will be the same people that are telling women they shouldn't have the right to choose whether or not they bring a child into this world. And so they're setting up a scenario where you will have more women who won't be able to make ends meet because they're working jobs that are based on a salary that's not supposed to even provide for individuals that have children to take care of. An interesting situation.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
So calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders, enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline to apply has been extended to April 15th, that's Monday. So go to FGB.Life for more information and to apply. Ford goes further in our community.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.